Welcome to the weekend edition of the Nightly Nugent. Ted, yesterday's Friday free-for-all was incredible. I'm already hearing from our listeners that the way you walk through how Motown influenced you and really everyone we listen to. I mean, all I could hear is the music that you were playing yesterday all day as I was going about all my chores and fun. So how you doing this weekend?
I'm doing wonderful. I still have my Gibson guitars, my amplifiers. I'm in the man cave cuckoo's nest. I've got deer heads and red lechwe and guns and ammo, unlimited guns and ammo and spirit and attitude. And I like to share that with my fellow Hellraisers on the Nightly Nugent.
You know what, Ted? I just finished a book called Undaunted Courage about the Lewis and Clark expedition. And I couldn't help but think about that in a lot of different terms. I mean, think about what those guys did. They left in St. Louis, went up the Mississippi to the Missouri, and then all the way across to the coast when no one had ever done it. They had no idea what they were going to see. In fact, they thought there were still woolly mammoths alive. They knew they were encountering Indians and weather. And here's a group of people, Ted, that had to hunt their own food, make their own shelter, build their own fires. And I just wondered as I read the book, one, how awesome it would be if you and I had been on those keel boats going up the river with those guys, just all the things that we would see. But then I thought, it's not unlike some of the trips that you and I have gone on to the Yukon and got caught in a terrible storm and had to build our own fire. And I mean, I don't know. And I just wonder if our fellow countrymen and women would be able to survive 1 week in their own homes if things went bad. And then I also thought too, Ted, about you kind of being a pioneer like Lewis and Clark, not only with your music, but how you took your celebrity and you spoke out about things that mattered to you, whether it was the Second Amendment, whether it was the hunting rights and fun that you do, and then also criticizing the other people in your profession from your clean and sober perspective and so on and so forth. And I don't know, and you might think I'm blowing smoke up your skirt, but I do kind of think of you as a modern day Lewis and Clark. What's your thought on all that?
Well, number one, a lot of people would think that since we've already explored every nook and cranny of planet Earth and we're going out into outer space and exploring that there's no real genuine adventure left. Au contraire. My name is Ted Nugent. I'm just a greasy old barbecue daddy guitar player from Detroit. And I went out on my Spirit Wild Ranch this morning with Happy Sadie and Coco. And even though it's only a few hundred acres here in Texas, I still get out of that four-wheeler and I walk the river and I find a new bend in the river. And I know other people have been in that new bend, and oftentimes, much to my heartbreak, I see remnant debris left by other people. But if we really seek uncharted territory, we can find that uncharted territory. Let's take the guitar, for example. It's a short neck. This looks like it's a limited topography, not much uncharted territory, unlimited uncharted territory. I can find notes and patterns. I can find musical adventure. I can promise you those patterns have never happened in the history of music. It's stream of conscious. People talk about adventure on the road less traveled. No. I want no road never traveled. And if we're creative and if we are critical thinkers, we can reestablish a more profound experiment in self-government by expanding our experimentation in our sacred self-government. So, yes, the Northwest Passage has been discovered, but even after the Northwest Passage was discovered, the Donner Party still had to end up eating each other because they didn't learn their lessons. So, yes, every nook and cranny has been explored and documented, and now with global satellites and this crazy technology where someone is listening to us right now at the NSA and they're recording everything we say, every picture we take. That's a little scary. As I articulated in the song Stormtrooping in 1976, they're coming up your streets, jackboot stepping high, got to make a stand. They're looking in your window, listening to your phone, keep a gun in your hand. Profound for a goofy guitar player. My point being is that, yes, I can still find adventure all across America, here in Texas. I don't travel much anymore, so I miss Alaska, but there's that spirit of adventure is alive and well. There are people who can literally survive like Jeremiah Johnson, like Ted Nugent, like Keith Mark, like Davy Crockett and Daniel Boone and Cochise and Crazy Horse. There's a bunch of us out here. And now with the looming food shortages and energy shortages and rolling blackouts as predicted by a corrupt government that doesn't care about U.S. citizens but will send unbelievable amounts of our taxes to foreign countries and welcome invaders into our country, giving them our tax dollars. It's really ugly, ugly. So let's think of freedom, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness in the American dream as the uncharted Northwest Passage that needs to be re-explored, redocumented, and reestablished, where we the people demand constitutional accountability from our elected employees, and we get back on the track of God, family, country, Constitution, Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, law and order, work ethic, goodwill, decency, positive spirit and energy. And even though the nightly news represents that, Keith, as you do in your family and mine, I want people to join me at the Ted Nugent Spirit Campfire, which is coming on globally on Real America's Voice real soon. And if you want to hear the soundtrack for this exploratory spiritual adventure that is available to all of us if we are critical thinkers. I happen to have a new record called Detroit Muscle, that there are some beautiful songs like Alaska, a beautiful instrumental, winter, spring, summer, fall. Music will cleanse the soul, especially my music, because my music comes from a very cleansed soul, not just clean and sober physically, but spiritually cleansed by being in touch with God's miraculous renewable creation as a hands-on participant in his conservation-wise use of these natural resources. And on my properties, Keith, are the ultimate clean air, soil, and water and biodiversity, because I hunt, fish, and trap, maintain balance, and make sure that I show reverence through valued utility for God's miraculous creation. Boy, that was quite the soliloquy, and I would recommend people transcribe it and read it to their children, because it's logic and common sense.
Do you think if Ted Nugent was a young man in the early 1800s and happened to be in St. Louis when Lewis and Clark were filling out their party, do you think a young Ted Nugent would have got on those keel boats and started paddling upriver? And imagine what you would have seen if you did.
No, I would have been the advanced scout that procured meat for the exploratory tribe. Yes, that's how I live my life to my best ability, even though I have air conditioning, I have electricity, I got hot, cold running water. And believe me, I love all that stuff, because I've spent some really cold, nasty nights on a hillside in Alaska in a pup tent. I was the last real foot safari in the Sudan, Africa in 1978 with 40 porters, and living off the land and filling buckets and boiling water so I could take a shower every few days. So I've lived in many ways the same life that Cochise and Lewis and Clark did, where if I didn't shoot that Grant's Gazelle, we wouldn't have had dinner that night. So in my own way, yeah, I had a scope Browning 7 mag, a little bit different than the muskets that Lewis and Clark used. But there's no question that I'm cocked, locked, and ready to rock the Glock around the clock, Dr. Spock, and that if all hell broke loose and there's no electricity and no energy, Uncle Ted would be just fine. And you know what? I would enjoy it.
You know what? If we lose all the electricity and all that, I know where I'm going to be, somewhere near you, because I know I'll eat really well. And boy, Ted, I don't know about you, but today's winner is a mouthful. Ron Stachewicz. Stachewicz from Arizona. Hey, Ron, thanks for going to huntthevote.org. signing the pledge and committing that you're going to go vote your values. But now what you need to do is make sure your fellow Arizonians are making sure only legal votes are counted down there in the next election, because we all know what is alleged that's went on down there and is just ongoing down there. But anyway, Ron, congratulations. You want a signed copy of Detroit Muscle, and thank you for going to huntthevote.org. Ted, great week with you this week, my friend. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And if everyone comes back next week, we're going to have some more of the Nightly Nooch.
God bless real America. Thank you, everybody.